Welcome to the February 18th meeting of the Brainerd Planning Commission. Step one, roll call.
Duval.
Here.
Gorham.
Here.
Grasula.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Powell. And Erickson.
Here.
Excellent. Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure.
All right. Looking for a approval of tonight's agenda.
So move.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. Now looking for approval of the draft minutes from January 21st. Looking for a motion.
So moved, Duval. Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Excellent. No need for discussion there. Brings us to item 6. Public forum is the time allocated for citizens to bring matters to the board that are not on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody would like to address? Anybody have comments for anything that's not on the agenda? Max, you got anybody online? Got nobody online? I'm going to close our public forum at 6:01. And with that, we have already moved up to 7A. We're looking for a conditional use permit for the dermatology clinic at 1410, 1424 TC Drive. James?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the properties are located in the industrial park in the general industrial zoning district. In accordance with the City of Brainerd zoning code table of uses, office business uses are permitted in the GI district. Zoning ordinance section 515-4-12 off-street parking states 1 parking space is allowed for every 150 square feet of building footprint area. The applicant is requesting a CUP for additional parking spaces for the 2-story dermatology clinic. Just of note, they are potentially looking at expansion to a third property that is adjacent to the 2. The applicant has proposed 65 off-street parking spaces, and again, they do have plans for potentially expansion. The proposed building footprint for the facility is 4,941 square feet, which allows for 33 spaces without a CUP. The proposed building meets the design requirements of the zoning code and has stone accents that will enhance the aesthetics of the area. FedEx, a nearby business, has a large parking lot and loading facility similar to other industrial uses. The parking lot is consistent with the neighborhood. Again, the project is supported by the Comprehensive Plan's Economic Development Goal 1, Policy 1, drive infill development and redevelopment toward areas where current infrastructure is present or places where high levels of blight or disinvestment exists. Development of vacant properties in the industrial park is an important economic priority of the city, certainly something that we have reviewed with the EDA. The property is located in an area where current infrastructure exists. City Council of note did pass a resolution last night conveying the properties to the EDA. The EDA will be reviewing a purchase and development agreement at their March 5th meeting. With that, staff recommends to hold a public hearing and recommend approval of the CUP as presented. I can answer any questions. The applicant is also present.
Questions for James?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Peterson.
Where do we come up with this number of X amount of parking spots for so many square foot? I mean, why? I mean, every business is going to be different.
So, Planning Commission reviewed off-street parking spaces probably over a year ago, perhaps before the time that you were on the commission. We reviewed, properties specifically in and around downtown as potentially having too large a parking lots. We reviewed a number of properties, and a lot of the problems kind of centered around those buildings that were a single story and had really large parking lots. Certainly understood that there might be multi-level buildings that need larger parking lots, so we put in that CUP condition within there to help account for that if there was a multi-level building.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair, thank you. James, you mentioned that there's sort of fuzzy, maybe future plans to expand the facility, or would it be a different facility? It's not necessarily directly relevant to this proposal tonight, but it helps me think about parking.
It does. So as part of the purchase and development agreement that we're working on, there's a third property that would be potentially held for 5 years that's adjacent to it, in which, my understanding, there could be potential another building there, whether it's employees of the dermatology clinic or kind of consultants that they direct patients to as well. So that's property just to the east there. That would be part of the purchase and development agreement. So potentially that parking lot could also be utilized for that facility as well.
So the parking lot that we're looking at on the drawings and issue or considering the conditional use for is specifically for the building that we're seeing on the two lots, if you would.
That's correct. It's specifically for that building, so there's no calculations as the building is not proposed for the third lot at this time.
So we're not creating space for future activity. It's
Nope,
the
just
needs
of note that it could
building.
potentially be used for that.
Thank you.
We'll go with Mr. Erickson first.
Thank you. James, on some of the renderings, it talks about tenants. Is that referring to the dermatology clinic, or would there be third-party, other commercial tenants in there as well?
So that may be a question for the applicant.
And I can wait on that. I can wait another turn, but I have a follow-up.
We'll go with that
Other- a
follow-up.
second
You're on a roll.
question.
You can go ahead.
Would the city's lighting standards for the zoning be met? I didn't see anything in what was proposed about lighting. I'm trying to beat Mr. Duval to this question.
Yep, so this isn't a CUP for the use, so I didn't ask for lighting standards. They
Okay.
just have to be upholding to the city code on that when the
Okay.
building permit is submitted.
All right.
But I have discussed lighting and sent that to their design team.
All right, thank you, and then I can maybe ask the question later about that.
Justin, you got a question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly, that there is a public trail network within the TC Drive Industrial Park area, but not one connecting to the rest of the city from there.
From the overhead map, that's what I saw as well.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting. So we have a trail network there, but it doesn't connect to anything. Huh. Another reason why I think we should look at trails and bikeable, walkable issues, but we'll get to that in another meeting. Anybody else have any other questions? Do you have a follow-up question at all? Are you good?
Is the applicant able to?
Well, we'll get into the hearing if you want. We'll wait for that. My only question would be, James, is actually a couple. We talked about this a couple of years ago, didn't we? Didn't this come up again, or is it my imagination, or was it something similar to this? It was a non-industrial use in the industrial thing. I thought it was a clinic or something.
Yep, so it was related to this. There was a letter of intent that was submitted by the developer, probably about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago. So we did fast track changes before we changed the entire allowed use table to allow for business office use in the industrial district,
Excellent.
which was consistent with our old code.
Right. The other question I have is, are we classifying this as an office, business use, or is this a medical use? Or is there any reason to distinguish between the two?
Not really a reason to distinguish between the two. If it were a hospital, that would be a different classification.
Okay. But like a regular clinic, it wouldn't be anything, regular medical clinic can go in and just be an office building?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Yeah,
Chair, I did
please.
have one other question
Yeah.
that came to mind. Max, would you be able to go to page 12, the one where it shows the ponds? And my question is, so we've got the 33 stall parking lot, and then the one that's nearly double that size, but the ponds are the same. Is there concern about?
So this is a pretty preliminary design. Though, if all this passes and the purchase development agreement passes, my understanding is developer then would they've already reached out, would hire a civil engineer to work through this. There is already a lot of stormwater that's been built into these lots because they are shovel ready. So perhaps the stormwater ponds may not even be needed, but they did want to picture them there just to indicate that they do have room for them if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. If you don't have any other questions, we'll open the public hearing at 6:09. I'd like to welcome the applicant to come on up. We'll ask for name and address and tell us about the project.
Christina Britton, 12545 County Road 139, Brainerd, Minnesota. So I'm the business owner applicant for this. I've been a dermatologist in Brainerd for 14 years, decided to start my own practice, almost 5 years, will be 5 years in May. When I started out, it was just myself and a couple of receptionists and a handful of nurses. We have really expanded considerably since then. We now have, in addition to myself, we have two mid-level providers, a nurse practitioner and a PA, and we also have 3.5 cosmetic providers as well. So we went from starting with 6 or 7 employees, where now we have close to 30 employees in a matter of about 4 years. So we've had expansive growth in a short amount of time. And to be honest with you, we really just kind of outgrown our space where we're renting right now. And so there really is no good space for us to work at this point to have all of the providers there at one time. So we were super excited to be able to, build something in the Brainerd area. I am from Brainerd, born and raised, graduated here. I was actually an employee of Potlatch. So when Potlatch closed, I went back to school and became a dermatologist. So I love this community. I plan on living in this community. We raised our children in this community, and so really want to stay in Brainerd instead of Baxter. So very excited about the opportunity. We need a lot of parking because we just have so many providers. So for one provider, there's always a patient being seen, there's always a patient coming in that's in a room and a patient that's leaving. So we figured for every provider, there's going to be at least 3 vehicles there. So if we've got 7 providers, running in a day, that's 21 vehicles, plus I've got 30 staff members there too. We designed the building to expand as well. So we have the addition to have 2 more other providers joining the practice. So if we have 2 providers, that's 2 more nurses, that's 2 more receptionists, that's 6 or 7 more patients. So the parking really is something that we need to be aware of to make sure we have enough parking for, future expansion of just the clinic itself. When we're not completely done yet with all of our plans, but we're 98% done with our plans. The basement part of it there's maybe about a third of it at this point that's not completely finished. This would be a potential where we could have somebody renting that space out from us. Or we may, if we end up growing too big, too fast, we would then convert that into more office space or clinic space for us. So as of right now, there'll be a third of our basement that will be unfinished. So depending on what the need is, we may end up making it into a place where somebody could rent from us. It wouldn't, a business, that kind of thing, but we just don't know yet at this point.
Great to hear about the success of your business. To hang on for a second, I think we may have a couple questions. Mr. Erickson, do you have a question for the applicant?
Yeah, I think you answered it mostly, but I just, on Max on page 14 there is what kind of triggered my question there. Talk about the shared vestibule, has River Birch labeled there, but then those tenant offices, but I think that's, you kind of answered the question. That's probably
Yes, at this point, it won't be built. That's kind of a potential for an idea, but that half of the basement will not be built. It'll just be the other half. And then depending on if we need it, if we end up growing and add more providers and more staff, we may end up making that into office space and clinic space for ourselves. Or if we do end up partnering with somebody that wants to have a business out of there, then we would develop that. But the plan at this point is just to leave it dirt floors or just roughed in or whatever. Yeah.
Other questions for the applicant? Just a quick one. Are there in every industry there's averages and kind of ways to go. Are there formulas in your business of for parking in terms of, is that where you're kind of following, right? If you have this many people?
Yes, yep. So the thought is for every provider, you're going to average about 3 to 4 parking spots. Just because you're going to have somebody there that's going to be checking in, somebody's going to be in the room, and somebody's going to be in the next room waiting to be seen. So by the time you have somebody coming and somebody going, the average is about 3 to 4 is what we were thinking. 3 to 4 parkings per provider.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's that answers my question. I think you can take a seat for the moment, and I will ask anybody else that's present who would like to speak. Anybody online, Max? Nobody online? All right, not hearing any other takers, we'll close the public hearing at 6:15. We may have a couple questions for you, but we'll close the public hearing at 6:15, and I'll open it up to discussion. And/or a motion if we don't have a lot of discussion, but
Well, I reacted quite surprisingly to the amount of parking being requested, as you were asking for a standard. And I did how can you look and see? And so I did an aerial survey over to the ortho clinic there on South 6th and in TC there, and count all cars up, and by golly, it's right at this number, and that's a similar two-level facility. So, at that point, it really took any questions out of my head about, that's an appropriate request or a reasonable request. So having said that, I would move that we approve the conditional use permit for the dermatology clinic on 1410 and 1424 TC Drive.
all right, we have a motion with Duval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second with Peterson. Any discussion? Not hearing any discussion or other questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There we go. Next steps for the applicants, James?
Yep, so as this is an advisory board, this recommendation will be forwarded to the city council at the Monday, March 2nd meeting at 7:30.
Thank you. All right. Good luck on your project.
Thank you so much.
Yep, very good. That brings us up to 6B. We're looking at a variance request for a setback at 2602 11th Street Southeast. James?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kathy Thompson, on behalf of Superior Fuel Company, has applied for a variance at 2602 South 11th Street to reduce the setback requirements for existing storage buildings to subdivide the property. The applicant proposes utilizing the site for a mini storage in the future. The property is in a general industrial zoning district, which requires a 30-foot rear yard setback and a 40-foot front yard setback. The applicant is requesting a reduced rear yard setback of 13 feet for the existing building and 24 feet for the existing storage building along County Road 45. All future buildings would be required to meet the setbacks of the general industrial district. In the findings of fact, variances shall be permitted when they are in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. Proposed track A and B meet all dimensional requirements of the zoning district. When the variances are consistent with the comprehensive plan. In Economic Goal 1, Policy 1 states drive infill development and redevelopment towards areas where current infrastructure is present. Variances may be granted when the applicant for the variance establishes that there are practical difficulties in complying with the zoning code. The practical difficulty in meeting the required setback is the location of an existing fuel storage tank that requires a 50-foot property line setback due to the state fire code. In addition, the storage buildings are existing structures to the property and cannot be moved to meet all setback requirements of the GI zoning district. Storage buildings and proposed use are consistent with locality as it is near an existing mini storage facility. And the plans have been reviewed by the city engineer and fire marshal, and they have no concerns at this time. So with that, staff recommends to hold a public hearing, and then just a bit of a different recommendation than what's in there, or recommend approval of the variance request for the existing structures as presented. And I can answer any questions. The applicant is also present.
Very good. Questions for James? All right. With no questions for James, we'll open a public hearing at 6:18. And I welcome the applicant to come on up and tell us about the project.
Kathy Thompson with Brainerd Garages, 1212 Industrial Park, Brainerd. And I've owned Brainerd Garages probably 25 years. And the opportunity came up with Ryan at Superior Fuel to split his lot, as he's got 2 existing storage buildings on there that he never used. And so I would like to build 3 more on there with some larger units, as I'm getting a call for those. And that's pretty much sums it up.
All right. Questions for the applicant? See no questions from the applicant? We may have another question for you, but that'll do for now. Thank you.
Sorry,
We got a
I-
question, Mr. Erickson, please.
Yeah, thinking of a question here. I see the access onto County Road 45. Have you approached the county on?
Yes,
Oh, that-
yep,
okay.
with Matt.
I have a follow-up question. Do you have a lighting plan? Have you discussed how it will be lit?
Not yet. We're going to do a lot similar to what I have now. I don't know if you're familiar with my 2 locations there.
No, I'm not, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else would like to come up and speak? Max, do you have anybody on the line? Got nobody. All right, very good. Well, I will close our public hearing then at 6:20, and I will open the floor to discussion. Questions? Nothing? All right.
Explanatory.
Very good. Then we're looking for a motion, and I think we want to have it work with what James is saying on the.
Yep, so recommend approval of the variance request for the existing structures as presented.
Okay, variance request for the existing structures. Very good. Is that going to be the only one, or are we going to have a separate motion, or that'll cover it?
That'll cover it.
That'll cover it. Very good. Looking for a motion then.
So moved, as stated.
Erickson, and do we have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Justin. There we go. And any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There we go. Next steps for our applicant.
Yep, so this will be heard at the March 2nd City Council meeting at 7:30 for a final decision from City Council.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. All right. That brings us to 7B this brings us to number 8. 8A, we're going to review the comprehensive plan update proposals. James?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So 3 proposals were submitted by consultants as a result of the distribution of the RFP. Staff have reviewed all proposals, and all 3 meet the requirements of the RFP and should be considered and ranked based on the criteria listed in the RFP. I did send that out this morning just as a reminder. All proposals are under the budgeted total. Staff recommend that the highest ranked proposal should be recommended to City Council and to proceed on updating the comprehensive plan. And I will defer to the chair on how he would like to conduct the ranking.
So what has been proposed is that we do a 3-2-1 system, and obviously your number 1 choice will be 1, and the last choice will be 3. The idea is to get pretty simple, to get the lowest score. Lowest score wins in this game. And so our 3 applicants are going to be Swanson, Haskamp, and then we have, is it
Bolton and Mink? Yep, and then WSB.
And I always confuse WSB with Widseth. They're not Widseth.
They're not.
And I confuse them because they both start with W's, but this says more about me than them. All right, there we go. I would just like to kind of go across the group here and see if any opinions. So what are people thinking after reading the 3 applications? Let's start with Mike.
Oh,
Yeah, you ready?
I'm rarely opinionated,
Yeah, I know.
but I'll try.
Okay, do your best, would you?
No, I think we had a good pack of applications here. I saw 2 strong applications in there that stood out. I don't have any concerns about the makeup of the teams or the experience of the teams. I would presume that James would maybe, if needed, look into client satisfaction. I wasn't about to call a bunch of people myself, but
Me neither.
are subtle differences in the product that we'll get depending on the applicant, and each of them had interesting things to offer us. So, I think we'd be reasonably well served by 2 out of 3, if not 3 out of the 3.
All right, we'll put you on the spot later, but that's a good start. Dave, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be hard to pick between them. The qualifications look good. Well, I'd have a question for you, James. I mean, it looks like, they've worked with the city, Bolton and Mink especially, quite a bit.
My personal experience, I've primarily worked with Jennifer Haskamp, Bolton and Mink kind of more on the side of the utilities.
Okay.
Very good. Justin?
I think I would agree with Mike that I saw 2 very strong applications and one that maybe wasn't quite as strong.
We'll put you on the spot later.
I did like that the Swanson Haskamp proposal, it seemed like there was more involvement with more parts of the city, if I'm remembering that one correctly.
Good. Dad?
Yeah, very similarly, I thought they were all really, strong applications. I got comments for kind of each category, but I have similarly, I think they were all very good. I have them ranked. I could share some of that, but I particularly liked, they all referenced the EQB and a lot of the specific things we mentioned in the scope. So I thought they did a very good job of that. I liked how one of them, and others did this too in different areas, but one of them kind of stood out where they said, we want to review the plan and it's kind of in its entirety for relevance, which I kind of liked that, where they weren't going in with anything prescriptive. So I like that kind of objectivity. And I think the scope kind of touched on some of that too, so they were responding to that, so. But yeah, I can share, are we sharing numbers
We're
yet,
going to share
or-
numbers next. I'll do my opining, and then we'll play the figure skating judges here, and we'll give them all scores here. And again, I think all three were good applicants. And I'll list my preference. My preference would be with Swanson and Jennifer and their approach. We've worked with them before, and we specifically worked with them on the Swanson Handicap, and we worked with them in particular on the Planning Commission. What stood out to me with their application is that they specifically talked about communicating to the Planning Commission. All the groups mentioned the Planning Commission, but maybe I'm just kind of putting too much pride here, but they kind of mentioned, oh yeah, in the Planning Commission. They really, I thought, recognized the importance that the Planning Commission is going to be kind of the portal into the city and who they're going to be working with, and with staff as well, of course, and then going into the other groups. My general feeling, I've looked at a few RFPs now over the years. I think the larger firms do an impressive job of giving you all these people that they have at their disposal, who most of them probably won't really contribute a whole lot to the project, but they can do that because they have such a deep bench. They can really give you a nice array of talent that they have. So I would probably, I'll start the rankings. I would say Swanson Haskamp is 1 for me. Stephanie, are you marking those down over there? Excellent, they would be number 1. I'll go 2, Bolton Mink will be 2, and 3 would be WSB. So that would be my 1, 2, 3. And Mike, do you want to take it up with your 1, 2, 3?
Sure, my 1 would also be, and quite frankly, it's a tie between Swanson Haskamp and WSB. I think they're both hitting the things I think we're really looking for. I'm tipping the scale on the Swanson and Haskamp for the things that Justin, you said about sort of the broader coverage of issues and the things that you said, Don, about past experience and the current things that they're working on for us that they're talking about. Integrating all that into the comp plan so we don't have a shelf full of books of plans, but this is the unifying piece, and I felt that was very important. And then 3 was Bolton and Mank, and I found it concerning for me was just the I didn't see that land use and housing were really being treated in that proposal. They were coming forward with sort of the infrastructure pieces that perhaps help us tag the EQB base, but we need a fresh look at the land use and the housing as well. And we benefit from a consultant coming in and giving us awareness of blind spots or things that we haven't considered, and that's what this exercise would be helpful for us. So those are my rankings.
Very good. Dave?
I won't go into great details, but I had Swanson and Haskamp as my number 1, Bolton and Mink is 2, and WSB is 3.
Very good, thank you. Justin?
Swanson Haskamp, Bolton Mink is 2, and WSB is 3.
Very good. Dad?
I think everybody's touched on all the areas. I'll just add one thing. I thought that in the second category about relevant communities, I thought they all did a good job describing the scope. I think the teams are amazing. And so for me, mostly the differentiating factor was the communities they've worked in. Bolton and Mink worked with the county. That's excellent. But then they had a lot of smaller cities. And Swanson Hascamp. I found that section to be a little less clear. I think in their bios, they went into greater detail, which was helpful. But I thought WSB had kind of the most similar sized communities, and that was the tipping point for me in my scoring. So I had WSB 1, Bolton and Mank 2, and then Swanson Hascamp 3.
Very good. Have what you need there, Stephanie? All right, do you want to announce our winner?
The median and the mode as well.
The median and the mode. We're going to throw out the high score and the low score. Yep. And James, this will go to the city council as a suggestion, a recommendation.
That's correct. It would go as a recommendation.
Fair enough. Very good. Then we are already up to staff reports. James?
And then recommend a motion from.
Oh, did we get a motion? We need to have a motion. I'm looking for a motion to recommend that we accept the results.
So moved.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Now we are ready. The city council has our recommendation. Very good. Then we're up to staff reports, number 9. James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple items here. So I did meet with the Minnesota DNR today, and plans are to receive their approval letter in time to conduct the public hearing at the March meeting for the Shoreland District update. So I just wanted to make the Planning Commission aware of that. Also, City Council is considering an orderly annexation agreement with the county for properties along Riverside Drive, an area with existing municipal utilities, and an area that does not have a consistent boundary. So just wanted to update that as well. A number of people did show up to the meeting last night.
A number of people did. I watched it on the video. There was a parade. It was good to see citizen democracy enforced there. That was good to see. Appreciate that.
Lucky.
Well, exactly. We have a lot of people online. I know we have a lot of people online. Maybe.
Mr. Chair, questions of staff, please?
Yep, please.
James, regarding the shoreline piece, they're working with the DNR. How does our proposed shoreline overlay district compare to Crow Wing County's shoreline ordinance, specifically if we were to look at Gilbert Lake?
Very similar. A lot of what was put into the proposed shoreline overlay district was taken from Crow Wing County. So very similar. Obviously, we're asking for a few concessions. There might be a few minute differences. Table of uses could be slightly different, county versus city, but by and large, I would probably say 95% similar.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense to modify what we've been working on for something that's a little bit out in the future here. We'll come back to it if we need to, if there's an annexation that happens in Shoreland.
So if an annexation happens in Shoreland, they'd be subject to our code, essentially, which then would be pretty similar to the rules that they have right now. Certainly you have to look at the underlying district as well. So whichever is more restrictive, you have to go with that number. If the annexation moves forward, most likely it would be probably garden living. That's a lot of what that area is right now, Island Drive and Riverside Drive. So you have to kind of take into account a couple different codes when you're looking at that. There's also the Mississippi Headwaters regulations for kind of those areas that are outside of the city, which would be this area.
And we live there right now. For the city's shoreline ordinance, we are already in that same Headwaters Board jurisdiction.
Yep, so the Headwaters jurisdiction really fits kind of really on the outside of it. Once you get into the city, it's mainly governed by the Shoreland District.
Thank you, no further.
Very good. That moves us along to commission member reports, number 10. Mike, you want to kick it off?
The only, I already gave my sidewalk report, so we're done with that.
Thank you.
James, there's an upcoming presentation on data centers on the 26th of February. I believe you're an invited speaker on that. I intend to attend that by remote. Are there any concerns about quorums and things like that when attending from remote that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. Is anybody else from the planning commission
Maybe that's the question.
considering listening in on that? I guess if we'd had four, I could ask the city attorney. Not a whole lot of discussion is going to be done, but, questions certainly could be posed. So I could ask the attorney if there are four members that may be attending remotely.
Would it be any benefit, I mean, if we adjourn the meeting to the next meeting, isn't there some sort of way we can do that? But I don't think, well, we'll just do the quiz. Who else is thinking of, what is the date and time on this event? Does anybody have that?
Thursday of next week, 10 to 11 in the morning.
I'm out, I'm a working man.
It's on data centers, and maybe James could even speak to it better. You informed us about this in January.
Yeah, so I was asked to present on it because City of Brainerd is one of the few, if not only, municipalities that have really looked into data center regulations. Green Step was interested in kind of hearing what our process was, what our regulations were, or what the regulations we created were, and then maybe some of the difficulties we had. So I'll be presenting kind of on the history of how we got to that allowed use section in our zoning code.
And I think maybe Green Steps is thinking about perhaps a model ordinance or something like that they might, if there's a niche for that, and so this is a learning process, I think, for them.
Yeah, there are a lot of municipalities that don't currently have an ordinance. I'm sure they're getting calls about data centers as well, not knowing how to regulate them. Typically, they've been falling under what we previously did, which was general industrial, kind of light manufacturing or manufacturing. So without having those extra regulations on there, certainly sounds a concern with data centers. There's not a whole lot of regulations out there right now, so there's a lot of municipalities that are interested.
Very good.
Fascinatingly wonky.
Very wonky. I think you're in no danger of a quorum, so I think we're going to be okay.
All right, the issue is
We
resolved.
expect to hear back at the March meeting. Dave?
Well, yeah, I feel we've already gotten the private one from you if you're speaking again of what we've done, so.
There we go. Got the
I
preview
feel no
already.
need to get bored for another hour, so. Oh, I didn't mean it that way. Not at all. That came out wrong.
Okay.
Other than, I have nothing. Thank you.
All righty. Excellent. We'll go down to the end there. Tad, you got anything?
Yeah, well, I'll just kind of reiterate what we said about last night's meeting and the annexation that was on the item. Sounds like many of you watched it, and there was a public hearing, and a lot of the questions that the residents raised I thought were really good questions. And I think it's good that we're allowing a little bit more time for those questions to be answered and progress slowly. And I think it was expressed that it's likely something that's probably going to happen at some point or another. And I think some of the residents are understanding that, but for some of them it was new. So give them a little bit more time to answer some of the questions and move through it. So.
Very good.
But it was an excellent showing, as you mentioned, so.
Yeah, and I did notice that I thought that the time limits were not tightly enforced.
No.
And I personally appreciate that. I think most people have a way of regulating themselves at some point, realizing they've gone on for a while. And so and even without the enforcement of that, it seemed like it went pretty smoothly, so very good. Justin?
I have nothing.
You got nothing? All right. I've got one thing, just from the going back to the housing issue. I've kind of talked about this before. I heard this on the way home from work tonight. I heard this classic story I hear on the radio, and I've heard it more than once. It goes like this. The average rent in the United States last year went down. It went down to like $1,700 for an apartment. Can you imagine, first of all, $1,700 for an apartment? So it's gone down. And that's been happening all across the nation, is that the housing supply, so much new housing has come on the market in the last few years, is beginning to drive down some of the cost and is beginning to open up some vacancies. And the last part of the report is always the same. Housing industry is expected to slow up construction due to these facts. In other words, as soon as you start pushing that housing up to a point where the cost and things begin to go down, the housing industry goes, well, wait a minute, hold on, tap the brakes here. And so I think it's admirable that we have these goals of adding all this housing to get to meet all the demand. But don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist, but sometimes capitalism just has a way of just continuing the same sort of miserable situation, because it really isn't in anybody's interest to build a huge apartment complex knowing that you're only going to rent out 60% of it and your revenue is not going to be what you expected. Is there any point to the story? Is there any answer? No, but I think that's something I think about every time when we think about housing. I think sometimes we think we're just going to build our way out of it. I don't think we're going to. I don't think the answer is state supported construction or anything like this. But it's just interesting. I tend to think it's just like the price of oil, that the world produces like 100 million barrels a day, and we consume, or 100,000, whatever it is, we consume exactly the same amount. In other words, nobody wants to produce more oil, and if the only thing they could possibly do is going to produce less. So I think we're just kind of stuck in the same situation over and over again with a lot of these things.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. So there you go. There's my economics rant for the day. That's all I got. And with that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, folks.